Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nathan Whidden, and this is an intro. One of the most frustrating yet rewarding things about being a musician is the hunt for tone. You know what I'm talking about? Like you have your headphones in and you're jamming along, and all of a sudden a guitar line starts and you just stop everything you're doing and you're like, that sounds amazing. And you rush home, you crank on your gear, you get ready, you get your guitar on, and you play something, and you're like, oh my word, it doesn't sound anything like that. Why doesn't my guitar sound like that? And then you go over the next few months and hundreds of dollars spent or something, you end up searching for this sound, trying to get your gear to sound like what you just heard on that record. And finally, you play it back through your recording, and it's there. The sound that you've been hunting for is there. And it's like angel choirs, I love that moment. True story, one time I almost cried. I know, it's too much information, you don't want to hear this. But I'd hunted for this sound for so long, and I finally got it, and I was like, yes! And it was just a moment where I was like, all of that hard work paid off because of one chord, and it sounds like I want it to sound. And all right, you know what I mean. Maybe you don't. Maybe I'm completely alone, but I don't think I am. So today we're going to talk about acoustic guitar and what you can do to find the sound on your acoustic guitar that you're looking for in your head. In fact, we're going to do a whole series of these on just things that you can do on your instruments to find that sound and to help you record your instrument in a way that inspires you to create. So today we're going to take acoustic guitar, we're going to do that, and this isn't necessarily about finding a specific sound that you're hunting for, but it's about finding your sound and creating your tone that sets you apart and helps you be as creative as you can possibly be. All right, let's get into it. Tip number one. Tip number one is strings. Now I know you're thinking that is basic. You're right, it is. But your string choice is a big factor in the way that your guitar sounds. Now, obviously, you get a nice guitar, it's gonna sound nice. But the reality is most of us don't have thousands of dollars laying around to go out and buy a new guitar. I've had this guitar, it's a Martin DC-15, and I've had this for a long time, 15 years, something like that. This was my first real acoustic guitar, and I keep coming back to it because I just like the way it sounds, especially as I do some of these things that we've been talking about. So if you got an old guitar and it doesn't sound quite the way you want it to sound, grab some new strings of a different gauge than what you're used to. Typically, I thought that I liked thinner strings, but turns out I only liked thinner strings because I liked how easy they were to play. But turns out I like thicker strings the way they sound. A heavier string to me sounds bigger and fatter and more present, whereas a thinner string sounds thinner and more like a texture, but less in it. Now, I don't know what you're going for. Whatever you're going for, find the string that helps you make that sound. Typically, thicker strings, thicker sound, thinner strings, thinner sound. It's pretty basic, it's pretty easy to understand, but sometimes we don't experiment with it because we just have never thought to. So anyway, take your strings, experiment with, and here, just another thing. If your strings are old and have rust on them, chances are you should just change them, even if they're not ideal strings. Change your strings, that's gonna help a lot. So, find strings that work for what you're trying to create. All right, next. Tip number 2. Your pick matters. I used to play with a super thin pick. Along the way, I discovered that thick picks actually give me more of the sound that I'm going for. This right here is my favorite pick. Can you see it? Let's see if it'll focus. Ready? Go. Nope, 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 nope. All right, never mind. It's called a gravity striker, and it is 1.5 millimeters thick. It's so thick, and it lights up really bright like that. It's pretty cool, it's yellow. But it has a beveled edge, and it just gives me a different tone than the traditional thin acoustic guitar pick. So find the pick that works for the song and works for the sound that you're trying to go for. Your pick, the pick that you pick, the pick that you pick to pick your guitar with matters. So find the right pick for the sound that you're going for. Tip number 3, microphone choice. When you are recording your acoustic guitar, obviously, if you don't know this, here's just a little tip. Don't just plug your guitar into your interface. Mic it. You can plug it in too, just as like a backup, but if you mess with it long enough, you're not even gonna use that signal. You're just gonna use the mic'd signal. So, mic your guitar. Now there are 3 basic types of microphones. You have your dynamic microphones. This is a Shure SM7. It is a great microphone. And it really does a pretty good job on acoustic guitar, but you don't typically use a dynamic microphone on acoustic guitar. This is a large diaphragm condenser microphone. This is the AKG 214, and this is a great microphone for acoustic guitar. Condenser microphones in general just pick up more of the high end, the sparkle that acoustic guitar does really well in. And condenser microphones are kind of the standard for recording acoustic guitar, either a large diaphragm or maybe even a pencil condenser to record the acoustic guitar. I think an underutilized microphone for acoustic guitar is a ribbon microphone. This is the Royer R10, and this microphone it's a ribbon, so it's got a ribbon inside it. And ribbon microphones in general are much darker sounding than either condensers or dynamic microphones. And Royer makes a fantastic one. This is actually a low-end Royer microphone right here. But if you want a vibey acoustic guitar, something that has character, that sounds a little different, especially if you're not in a heavy mix, but it's kind of an acoustic song, try a ribbon microphone out. Cascade Microphones makes a great ribbon microphone. It's a little bit cheaper, and they're good microphones though. But try a ribbon mic. I love ribbon mics on acoustic guitars. It does so much to just smooth everything out. Fantastic. Fantastic. So try them. Maybe you'll like an SM7. You know what? Even an SM58. If that's all you got, record with an SM58. It's okay. And just do something and try to figure out what sound you're going for. All right, number 4. Tip number 4 is microphone placement. All right, so let's look at the guitar here. So here I'm playing guitar. I'm sitting down. I'm doing my thing. A lot of times what we see is you see somebody grab a microphone and they shove it right at the sound hole just like that. And they're just like, all right, let's play. The sound comes out of the sound hole, right? Well, the thing with the acoustic guitar is that the sound comes from everything. It doesn't just come from the sound hole. It comes from the strings. It comes from the resonance of the body. Everything's so alive on an acoustic guitar. And if you can capture all of that sound, you're gonna go a whole lot further in getting the sound that you're hearing in your room captured in the recording. So you take your microphone and instead of sticking it on the sound hole 6 inches away, why not try moving it back a foot? Okay, here's a little pro tip, you ready? I've measured my hand from thumb to pinky and it's about 9 inches, okay? 9 inches. So when I'm doing recording, I can actually measure things out. I go, okay, that's about 9 inches right there. That's great. And I move it back a little bit, there's 12. So I take it back to about a foot. And instead of putting it right in front of the sound hole, I go over here to the 12th fret. All right, so now I'm right in front of the 12th fret. See, like that? All right, and then I'm gonna angle it toward the sound hole. So it's gonna be pointed at the sound hole, 12 inches off the fretboard. And what that does is not only is it capturing the string sound and the sound coming out of the sound hole, but it's also able to pick up the entire sound of the guitar. Look at it, see right here, it's pointing right here. and it's picking up all of the sound of this guitar. So the entire resonance of the guitar is being picked up by this one microphone. If you're in a good sounding room, you can actually go back further and just crank the gain up a little bit, because you're then at that point capturing the entire ambience of the room and the guitar. And that's a great way of doing things. However, most of us record in junky rooms, like in bedrooms and in rooms with brick walls like this one. And in that case, if it's not acoustically good, then don't go too far out, because you're gonna pick up some nasty reflections. But about a foot off your fretboard, angled towards your sound hole, picking up the entire resonance of the guitar, you're gonna be blown away by how much more natural, like it sounds in the room, you're gonna be able to pick up with that one microphone setup, pointed at the body of the guitar and not just right in front of the sound hole. All right, so that's 4 ways for you to explore the sound of your acoustic guitar and create the sound that's rattling around in your brain. Because you are creative. You have something to offer the music world. That's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of creative. That's the beauty of being a musician, is no one has ever created what you can create. So be creative and go after it. All right? That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got to say. All right. So I guess until next time, why don't you do me a favor? Like and subscribe to this video down below. I mean, if you've made it this far, I mean, you might as well just go ahead. Subscribe for more content like this. Give it a like. It really helps out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Later.